Oh hi, hey, hello, how you doing? Welcome to my project. Buckle those seatbelts because it's going to be a bumpy ride. I'm sure I don't have to tell you, but it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. Plants and animals are in a constant struggle for survival, with the ultimate goal being to reproduce, as in babies, so that they can pass on their genes to the next generation and further their gene line. We've all heard the phrase survival of the fittest, and when we study evolution, this couldn't be truer. Organisms increase their fitness, as in ability to survive and then reproduce, in many ways which has slowly evolved over time. Just take a look at this cactus behind me. Look at those spikes, so fierce. The evolution of spikes on plants seems pretty self-explanatory. They serve as defensive structures to deter animals from eating a plant's stems or leaves, which it has put so many precious resources and so much energy into making. It's actually these spikes that gave me the idea for my project. There are lots of spiky of plants in the world, like old mate cactus, particularly in the arid desert zones. This is because the resources that go into making a plant, namely water and nutrients, are even more scarce in these areas, so holding on to them is even more important. So tick, we've understood the main functions on thorns of a plant, to defend them against hungry herbivores. But what about if, somewhere along the line, the thorns evolved to fulfill a second, completely new function, whilst also maintaining their role as defensive structures? And this is what my project is all about. The Chenopodiaceae family, you can forget that name ASAP if you want, is widespread in the Australian arid and semi-arid zone and is made up of many thorny, spiky plant species that are similar to our cactusy friend from before. However, there are two species within this family that present a bit of a conundrum and got me thinking about this whole secondary function business. Like all of the 57 species in the Sclerolina genus, you can forget that name too, the tall copper and the grey copper have evolved spikes as defense mechanisms. But unlike the other species, the seeds of the tall and grey copper are spread by ants. Let's have a look at their seed-carrying vessels and compare them to those of other species in the group to see how they do this. All species have spikes, tick, but the bottom section of our two species is hollowed out, compared to the flat bottom of the other species. Inside this little cavity is a small body of food that is attractive to ants. The interesting thing about this setup compared to other plants that use the ant seed dispersal is that this tasty food body is hard to remove. Usually, with other plants, the ant uses the food body as a transport handle, which detaches from the main seed vessel during the journey back to the ant mound. However, the food bodies of the tall and grey copper burr are hard to remove, forcing the ant to take the entire seed vessel back to the ant mound where it then removes the food body, dumping the seed on the good quality soil surrounding the ant nest. But this begs the question, how do these ants transport the seed vessel? Do they still use the food body? Maybe not, seeing as it works in a different way to other ant-dispersed plants. So maybe the ants use these thorns that we were talking about before as little handles to help them in transporting the seed vessel back to the nest. And if they do, this would be an example of the evolution of two functions in a trait. My project can be viewed on a large scale in terms of the concept and ideas that it involves, or on the small scale, when you only think about our tall and grey copper burrs and little ant friends. At a small scale, my project aims to determine if the thorns on the seed vessels of the tall and grey copper burrs function as handles to aid worker ants in the transportation of the seed vessel back to their nest. On a larger scale, my project aims to gain an understanding of the evolution of the dual function of a single trait, and this little picture ant-plant relationship can be used to do so. We know a little bit about this already. For example, some scientists found that the barred feather pattern on some bird species evolved to fulfill two purposes, that of both camouflage and communication. If my project shows that the ants do use the thorns as transport handles, then we will not only gain a small-scale, deeper insight into the interrelationship between these plants and ant species, but also a big picture, deeper understanding of the evolution of dual functions in a single trait, which would be pretty exciting indeed.